Hi, welcome. This is the second video in the series about how the government wanted the railway strikes in order to bring in the new anti-strike laws. Let's go ahead and watch the video.
6-month mandate goes 6 months. Maybe there's a fresh ballot. Maybe it goes longer than that. How much damage do you think from the existing industrial action and potential future industrial action is being done to the railways in the most generic sense, full stop? We know that COVID brought massive damage and that it fundamentally changed habits of customers, of passengers. We're seeing a lot fewer rush hour use, more social use, more weekend use of the railways post-COVID. Add in uncertainty on the part of consumers as to whether the train will even be running because of industrial action. How much damage has been done to the railway, particularly from consumer choice, which then plays to Mr. Ward's point about losses to the operating companies as a result, not just from industrial action but from changed habits? How much damage has actually been done to the railway?
Loads of damage has been done, but as I say, the damage is conceived and controlled in the Department for Transport. This is their project. They knew that there would be an industrial response from the trade unions. They decided to make what they would think of as a great leap forward and provoke the workforce and attack the workforce. So the damage has been envisaged in Whitehall by people who know very little about the railway. Rather than trying to get consent and evolution of the railway, they went for this great leap forward, and it's blown up in their faces. So the damage is being conceived by this administration, and they are inflicting the damage. They have also brought forward a set of legislation that they quickly abandoned on the future structure of the railway. Maybe they'll come back to that, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a new transport minister that'll have another idea. So the damage is being caused by the inconsistent and reckless policy of the people that are in control of the railway, which is the current administration. It's not being caused by the workforce, who are prepared to work through change that is considered and agreed rather than imposed.
I understand. You won't expect me to agree with it, but you'll understand.
Well, most people do agree with it. Most people think our rails are in a terrible state and that government policy is useless.
Let me put this into a question. I understand the perspective you're coming from, but surely you must agree that by making the railway uncertain in its operation from the eyes of the consumer, the people who pay a lot of money.
You're talking about when we're on strike and when we're not on strike?
When you're on strike.
What about the days when we're not on strike, when it's absolutely useless as well?
That's a whole other evidence session.
No, it's not. So since the timetable change that came a couple of years ago, the whole thing's been a disaster.
The question is, you must accept that people are being driven away from the railway because of the uncertainty of knowing whether it's running, because whether it's on strike or not, people are going back to their cars, they are going to coaches, they are just not travelling. We've seen the evidence from UK hospitality that the hospitality sector took an absolute bath in December when they're meant to, because people couldn't get into predominantly London.
It's not a question, is it? But I think it's your government's fault, is my answer when you get there.
Driving people away from the railway?
No, you are. Your government.
Right, okay. Mr. Ward.
I mean, clearly, if there's uncertainty about the service, it will drive people away. There's always been uncertainty about the service in the railway in recent years for different reasons. But Mr. Lynch is right. It's the policies of this government that are creating that uncertainty. This dispute is being prosecuted by the Department of Transport. They're making this happen. If they took their hands off the tiller as far as the employers are concerned and allowed them to negotiate with good faith, we could find resolutions to this. They won't do that, and the employers can't negotiate with us in good faith, because any attempt on their part to do so will effectively mean that they won't be compensated for the loss of revenue or for the loss of profits that they're going to, or the fallen profits that they're going to sustain going forward. I also think it's notable actually that despite the fact that we've come through COVID, with all the emergency arrangements, agreements that were put in place, that all of the companies that were under that managed to make profits, managed to pay dividends to their shareholders, never gave pay increases to their workers, and now we're in a situation whereby government are saying we've got to cut back the expenditure in the railway. The answer is let's get the workers to pay for it. This is political, this is not industrial.
To the question, though, the more the railway is not operational because of industrial action, the less people are going to choose to use the railways even when there is not industrial action, which is going to fundamentally undermine the entire future of the railway, is it not?
Absolutely. And that seems to be government policy.
Mr. Whelan.
I'm going to echo what my colleagues say. I hope to say in a slightly different way, not to bore you all. I'm quite sure we were the stakeholders that campaigned against the RPI increase in fares last year. We're the ones who've they said that we don't want the truncated timetables that are not serving the North West and North East, where some people are only getting one train a day. And we've tried to work within the changing nature of the industry because it's a 7-day, 24-hour day industry, always has been. But we had seen footfall coming back. We had seen demands even from government departments, particularly Jacob Rees-Mogg, that people don't work from home, and we've seen more and more companies feeling that that wasn't effectively giving them the productivity that they wanted. So we've seen a growth in leisure travel, and we've seen a drift back post-COVID in normal traffic. But basically the railway itself, because of how it's currently operating, sustaining on a daily basis, isn't attractive. And of course we're going to go into next January where there's going to be a further 5% increase in fares, where we'll see a further increase in what we call transport poverty and people's ability to afford to travel on our railways. So, but is the choice for a trade union when your employer and the government deliberately causes a dispute not to react and to do nothing? This was a fully expected political and industrial reaction from the bad actors who set this up in the first place. The companies decided to sign the new contracts in the post-pandemic world knew exactly what they were doing, knew how we organised, how we bargained with them for the last 2.5 decades. The government, in doing what they did, knew that there was going to be a reaction from the trade unions. I think what they didn't expect was us still to be here 6 or 8 months on. But for many people in this industry, this is existential. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jack, you wanted...
Leave a comment below and do subscribe. Hit the notification icon and click on the like button. Is the government to blame for these strikes?